357 Magnum Ballistic test, and what I have today is the Hornady Handgun Hunter. Interesting ammunition. It is a 130 grain monoflex, and this happens to be a full copper bullet. It's all copper except for the filling, and the filling is really interesting. It's very soft. It's a lot softer than like the critical defense or critical duty plug. It is very jello-y type of a filling. Interesting way they have this bullet nose. It's kind of has this little crimp pattern. That's actually similar to what they have for critical defense and critical duty. If you pull that plug out, it looks pretty similar to that. But these are full copper, so that's definitely different than the critical duty. And I'm going to test it between the 2-inch barrel and the 4-inch barrel. So using a snub might seem a little bit silly. However, the way it's rated, it does not, because it's rated at 1475 feet per second. So for a 130 grain bullet, that's actually right in the range of a typical self-defense cartridge. So I'm thinking it might make a pretty good self-defense cartridge. So that's why I'm going to test it in the snub nose barrel as well as the 4-inch barrel. So we're going to go through the chronograph, see what kind of velocity and accuracy we get at the same time. And then as always, we're going to go through the Juggernaut box, which contains a 1 3/4 inch pack of bologna that simulates like a pectoral muscle size. We're covered by 4 layers of denim, followed by 1/4 inch medium density fiberboard that represents like ribs or sternum, into water jugs to catch these bullets. And how this normally compares to ballistics gel after going through the bologna pack is getting out the back of jug 1 is 9 inches comparison to gel jug 2, 12, 3, 15, 18, 21, 24 inches, and so forth. So let's get started with the test and see how the Hornady Handgun Hunter ammunition does in 357 Magnum. All right, first up I have the 4-inch barrel. I'm about 4 yards from the chronograph, 5 yards from the target. I typically have a little bit of an issue with full copper rounds reading through the chronograph, so I'm hopeful that we can get some readings today. I have everything set up with the light, so it should read it, and I covered all of the bullet, the exposed bullet in black Sharpie, hoping to get a reading. So let's see what we get through the chronograph with the 4-inch barrel. 1238. 1236, 1274, 1234, 1247. So a far cry from that 1475 feet per second. I will say this, the recoil was very low and manageable. It felt like shooting at 38 special plus P. So hunting round, I don't know. Let's try the snub nose and see how that compares. All right, snub nose revolver. I'm going to fire a few in single action, because I haven't fired this in a while. $12.17, $11.72, $11.54, $11.56, $11.76. Extraordinarily mild recoil for a 357 Magnum out of a snub. So I guess that's a good thing in and of itself. So let's hit the ballistic box and see how these two barrels with the same ammunition compare to each other. All right, first up we have the 4-inch barrel. We'll see how this does. All right, this is a little bit different bologna pack. It's not within the same plastic shell, so it did blow it apart pretty well. So I'll show as much bologna as I can find. So here's about half of it, and we went right through the denim. There's the exit through the denim. So I'm going to show the fiberboard, which is stuck in the first jug for some reason, and the water jugs. All right, our fiberboard in here definitely shows expansion within that bologna pack, because where we first impacted it here, we can see that it's much larger than initial bullet diameter. So that's definitely expansion right away. And this first jug definitely shows that. Typically when we get a lot of expansion right away, the first jug will take on the most damage, and those remaining jugs take on a little less, and that's what we're seeing here. Here's our second jug right through. Third jug. I don't see any dents on jug 4, and there's a little tiny mark right here. That's going to indicate about 15 inches comparison to ballistics gel. And what we have here is a little interesting. It's kind of slanted, but it did get really uniform expansion for the most part. Not bad at all. We see this plug in here. I'm not even sure what this stuff is. It's interesting. It kind of reminds me of like totally clear caulk. Same type of feel here. Interesting. Let's see how that 2-inch barrel compares. All right, 2-inch barrel. We'll see if this is comparable. The first jug says it is. Now here's our baloney pack. I recovered all of it, so that definitely shows a little bit less power. And we definitely see expansion going through the fiberboard, but it looks longer one way than the other way. So expansion, but not necessarily uniform expansion. So let's see what we got in water jugs. Our first jug definitely took on most of that power, just like the 4-inch barrel. In the second jug, the whole thing is split, so that's pretty good. Impact in the third jug, it's in the same position as the 4-inch barrel. It's drifting just a little bit to the right for some reason. There's a crack out the back here. And the bullet is in here, so it compares to the 4-inch barrel. Again, 15 inches comparison to gel. And what we have looks near identical, just not rolled back quite as much, and the plug is missing, but we had relatively uniform expansion. So that's not typical to have two different barrel lengths get almost the same performance. That's really interesting. Now one more test, you know, because Hornady comes in packs of 25 rather than 20, got a lot of extra ammo. Why not launch them at 50 yards and see how good they really would be for hunting? So let's try that. All right, 4-inch barrel. If there's any gun I'm going to do well with, it's going to be my Smith & Wesson 686. I shoot this better than any other handgun I own. And another thought on this ammo, it might not just be loaded just to have power in general. Sometimes what you think of as hunting isn't necessarily the most powerful, but maybe they loaded it to be more accurate. So we'll see how this does for me at 50 yards, see if I can hit my metal tank out there, which is about the size of a deer body. I may have missed it. I'm not 100% sure if I'm hitting it or what. I didn't see a whole lot of movement on that tank. I'm gonna try the snub nose. I know it's kind of silly as a hunting scenario, but if the round can go 50 yards, it could potentially be used. Ejection of the spent cases was really good. I'm gonna fire a couple double action with this, and then I have a full cylinder for the snub nose, and we'll see how that does. All right, now let's try the snub. All right, snub nose, 357 mag, 50 yards. I don't know. We'll see how it does for me. I think I actually hit it a few times. Interesting. So overall, my takeaway of this ammunition is it seems pretty good. Now, it's definitely not in the power class that I would consider a hunting round, and it's labeled handgun hunter, so it's not designed for a lever action, although you probably would get a pretty significant increase in velocity. However, it does look like those pedals are designed to expand at the level it's at. So interesting takeaway here. I do feel like it is a little more shootable. I have a little bit more confidence with it because it is backed off in the power a little bit. Seems pretty accurate, almost more accurate than most other rounds. So I would I'm not really sure what to think about this as a hunting round, but I can definitely say I would carry this for self-defense on the streets. No question. It performed perfectly in the 4-inch barrel, in the 2-inch barrel, and was shootable in both. Very low recoil. So overall, I would say This round is not representing what it's supposed to represent, but it is still a very successful round for what I think it would be good for. So that's what you get today. Hornady Handgun Hunter, hunting something maybe a little different than animals, but that's what you get today anyway. So as always, comment, share, and like, and thanks for watching.